Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from RT Visualizer channel. Today we'll continue our lab, the DC Comics lab. This is the fourth video. Okay, we have been discussing in the previous three videos our new lab, which is running in the DC Comics universe, where all of our famous villains and heroes are residing or is working. We see here that we have this scenario. Just have a minute. I will discuss it quickly because we have discussed this in the previous video. Here we see that DC Comics had a new headquarters, and Superman was assigned the task of to be a project manager to construct a new headquarters to the DC Comics characters, villains and heroes. Okay, villains and heroes will live together in a new headquarters. For example, Batman, Superman will live with the Joker, and all the evil, and Bane, for example, all of them will live in one headquarters. They have agreed to do this. Okay, it's something, a fantasy or something, or they have make a deal or make a peace, okay, with each other. So who was assigned this task to be the project manager? Superman was assigned this task to build a new headquarters, and he was assigned not only to build the headquarters as building and infrastructure, but he was also assigned to construct an IT infrastructure. Okay, so as we all know that Superman is not an IT tech, so he asked his best friend Batman, okay, to be responsible for the information technology, virtual technology role, okay, to be the IT manager for this, or to be the one responsible for this headquarter from the IT issues, I mean. So he told him that we need to construct a new domain, and we name it DC domain.local, and we need to deploy 53 PCs, okay, for 215 DC Comics characters. These 215 DC Comics characters, we will use their name. For example, we will use an Active Directory user which is named Bane, and we will use our Active Directory name which will be used as Batman, Superman, and all of our best heroes or our favorite heroes will be used, or will we have Active Directory users accounts created for them in our new domain. Okay, so Superman has one condition, or he asked Batman to construct the IT infrastructure as soon as possible, at least in 2 days, okay, or less. So as I said before, our scenario, we will have a new domain and we need to deploy 53 PCs as soon as possible. So Batman followed or has planned how he will do this, okay, in this very short time. Okay, so he will create the domain, or he will create the Active Directory domain for the DC Comics, which will be named DC domain.local, using PowerShell scripts. He will create the Active Directory domain and users and groups and group members and computer objects and servers. All this will be done through using PowerShell scripts. And as for deploying 53 PCs, okay, he will do this using a feature called Windows Deployment Server plus Microsoft Deployment Tool. Okay, when he will use these two features, he will deploy the 53 PCs in the least amount of time, and even without his intervention, in a process called zero touch installation. What I mean by zero touch installation: Superman, after installing the WDS Microsoft or Windows Deployment Server, and install also the Microsoft Deployment Tool, after doing this, he will install these two features on the second domain controller. After doing this, he will put all of his 53 PCs, and then will give them power, and then he will just power on every PC. So after that, the PC will go and communicate with the WDS. As I said before, what is a WDS? And it will install the Windows, the Office, and the PC gets its name and join the domain. All of this will be done in a process called zero touch installation. Okay, so to do this, we have a scenario that we have two domain controllers, DC01, and we have done this in the previous video, and we have two network cards on this domain controller, and we have make a team between them. Why we have make a team? Just to make network redundant. So if you have one of these network cards down, then your network connection will not be down. So if you have workstations and servers joined to the domain through communicating with the domain controller, and you have this option, two network cards teaming, if one of them fails, the other network card will work, and the connection between the servers and workstations and the domain controller will not be down. So this is a good best practice. So in the previous video we have created a virtual machine, though this is the first thing we have done in the previous video, or the previous 3 videos, is to install or create a virtual machine, okay, and make it a domain controller. So as we all know that in this video we will use the Hyper-V, okay, as our hypervisor system, okay. So in the previous video we have discussed how to install the Hyper-V, okay, and what is the Hyper-V different virtual switches type, okay, and how we can configure them. After that we have created a virtual machine, and then we have give it a name, which is DC01, and then after installing the Windows and renaming the PC or the server to DC01, and then enable some options like enable remote connection, okay, and make network team for the network cards. All of this we have done in the previous videos, okay. So after doing all of this and preparing this virtual machine to be a domain controller, we have installed the Active Directory domain services, and then after that we have promoted the server to be a domain controller, and then we begin working with different configurations to be done on this server. First one of them is to make a DNS reverse zone, and we have discussed this before, what is a DNS and what is a DNS reverse zone. And we have make a custom console where we put all of our frequently used consoles like DNS console and Active Directory console, and everything we need to configure or to use, we will use to configure the domain control. All of this will be put in a custom console, okay. And this is we have done this in the previous video, and then we have created Active Directory central group policy location, and we have discussed this before in the previous video. And then we have used our ready-made group policy templates, which contains a lot of group policy templates for Firefox and Google Chrome and other softwares. We have imported them in our Active Directory group policy location, okay. So we can not only to manage the Windows setting for the workstations and server, but also to manage the different softwares, okay. So also in the previous video we have been discussing that we need every user, when we create an Active Directory user account, when the user logs in on the machine for the first time using his Active Directory user account, we need some operations to be done or some scripts to be implemented on this user. So how we can do this? We have said that we will get our script. We have a script called mycomputer.bat. We will copy this script file and put it in a folder named sysvolve. This is the location where the Active Directory will go and implement the scripts, okay, concerning the users. So this script will be implemented on the user for the first time he logs into the domain, okay. There's some things to be implemented on it, okay. So I have here a graph. We have stopped at this. So we have stopped at this the last time at number 30, or the minute number 30 in our video. Okay, here we have, let me show you all how the script will be. As I said before, we know when we want to implement a script on the user for the first time he logs into the domain. So how this is be done, or how this will be done, here we can see this is the Active Directory. We can just have a look, okay. This is the Active Directory user properties. As soon as you create a user in the Active Directory and then right click on the user, you will have a properties or a window property for this user. There is a place, or there is a text box that contains that it is blank. It is called login script. Here you will put the name of the script that you need you need it to be implemented on the user. Okay, so after clicking apply and OK, then he will go or the Active Directory user will go and implement the script. We, as said before, here in the login script we will type mycomputer.bat. Mycomputer.bat will be put in the folder named sysvol. Under sysvol there is a folder called scripts. We will put mycomputer.bat in this location. So what we will do, we will create a Active Directory user account, and then in the login script text box we will put the name of the script, mycomputer.bat, and then as soon as the user logs in, he will go to the location of sysvol scripts, and then he begins implementing the script that we have put in this box. Okay, so for the Active Directory user account to be able to implement this script, he need to have some rights on this folder, which is sysvol under scripts. So you need to have, the user need to have some rights on the scripts folder. Okay, so this is done. We have, at least he should have the right to read and execute. Okay, so this the user, Active Directory user, should have a read and execute right on the scripts folder under the sysvol. Okay, and this folder, and also it should be shared. Okay, so the user can be able to see it. So this folder sysvol as a whole and all the folders under it will be shared by default, but this folder is hidden. It's only it's hidden, it's not available to any user, but the Active Directory user account will know how to go and implement the script even though it is hidden. But as a rule, if you need to implement the script, you need to put it in a folder, and this folder should be shared, and the user should have rights to read and execute at least, so he can be able to run this script. And as a precaution, the share should be hidden, and there is a way the user can go to the batch file and implement it without seeing it, or it is hidden. Okay, so the bat file or the batch file contains some files he need to run. For example, there are 4 lines in this batch file or this script. It's telling him to implement some registry keys, which is language, search, hide, performance, setting, log off. Okay, so the batch or script will add language when the user logs in to the with his domain Active Directory user to his PC for the first time. The language will be added to him, English and Arabic, and then the Cortana will be hidden, and there is some performance setting to be changed, and the program of idle log off will be used. Idle log off is a program that will log off the user if he left his machine idle or not working for 3000 seconds. Okay, so all of these registry keys are in a folder. Okay, and this folder we will call it background. Okay, so also for the user to be able to implement these registry keys, I know that the user have a right or have right access to the folder that contains the script. Okay, but he should also have rights to the folder that contains the keys that will be implemented by the script. Okay, it's simply this. If you open the script, so here if we open the script, let me show you all. If you open, see, sorry, here is the script. There is the script and scripts. No, not this one. The script, it is the DC, and then login script, and this is the script. Okay, here we can see that this is the script, mycomputer.bat. It contains, it tells him to go and run these files from this location, DC01 backgrounds. Okay, so the scripts, there is some lines telling him to go. This script contains the lines and tell him to go and run these files. Okay, so also the user, the Active Directory user, should have on the background folder some rights at least also to read and execute, so he can be able to implement the batch completely. Okay, so here this is the process of the implementation. So this background folder, we need to have the user should have rights on this folder, and also this folder should be shared so the user can reach it. Okay, so we can just go in steps. First of all, we will create the Active Directory user account, and in the login script field we will put mycomputer.bat. This is the script that will be implemented, and this script, it is in the folder of sysvol under sysvol scripts, and the user have rights on the scripts folder, and this folder it should be shared, okay, and the user should have right on this scripts folder to be read and execute. And then the mycomputer.bat script will go to another folder, okay, which is background folder, which contains some registry keys that he will implement. Also the Active Directory user should have access and should have the right privileges, okay. So to be able the Active Directory user to access this folder to complete the implementation of the script, this folder should be shared. So she should be shared on Active Directory. We should share this folder and give the Active Directory on it read and execute at least, okay. So this is the process of the implementation of the script. So at the last video or the previous video, we have been stopped, or we have stopped at this this way. We will have our background folder. So also to know more, please refer to my previous three videos, okay. Here we will share this folder, which will name backgrounds. We need to share it, okay, and give the Active Directory users some necessary privileges so they can be able to execute the login script, okay. So here we will begin before giving the before sharing the background folder and give the Active Directory users rights on this folder. We will begin creating the Active Directory users on the Active Directory domain, okay. So this will be done through using scripts, okay, or PowerShell scripts. Here we will create our 215 users, which are the heroes and villains characters of the DC comics, okay. We will create this, or will create these Active Directory users using PowerShell scripts. PowerShell script, basically it's a script that contains some commands that will go and create the users, okay, that it is written in a certain Excel sheet. So this PowerShell script will go to a certain Excel sheet that we have already put in the PowerShell script, and we have written its location in the PowerShell script. So he will go and see the user Active Directory users names and user first name and last name and the username of our users, and then he will begin creating the Active Directory user accounts. We'll see that in a moment, but please bear with me just a minute. We need to go there because there is a lot of things that is not done here. Let me go there. Okay, so here, no, this is not it. We'll go a little more. So here we will go to our, this is the folder that contains our PowerShell scripts. In it we will have the PowerShell script to create our Active Directory user accounts, which will be 215 user account with all the names of our best heroes and villains of DC Comics. So let's see how this will be done. As I said before, if you need to know more, please refer to my 3 previous videos. Here I am just renaming the folder, okay, for one reason, okay, just to make it without spaces between the words, because the PowerShell scripts, the PowerShell window, or the PowerShell as a whole doesn't recognize spaces between the names of the folder. So if the folder the folder name is with spaces between words, it will not execute the script in this folder, okay. So you need to make your the name, or you make the folder that contains the PowerShell scripts to be one word, okay, or several characters without spaces between them, okay. So you will see now. Then we will open the PowerShell script. Okay, here now we will open PowerShell. and then we will run it as administrator. This is a very important issue. Right click and then run as administrator. This so you can be able to run the script with full privileges, okay, as an administrator. So the first thing to do in the PowerShell window is to go to the location of the script, which is DC domain. We'll see how we can go to the location of the folder that contains the script. You need to type a certain command in the PowerShell so you can be able to go to this location. Okay, you can do this in Windows by clicking and back and forward, but in the PowerShell script we need to use commands to go from one folder to another. We will see that in a moment. So here we will type cd, and then first we will go to the D location or the D volume that contains the PowerShell scripts, and then we will tell him ls. Okay, it's not known, it's not a known command. ls means like cd or dir or list the folders in this volume. Okay, so here we have backgrounds and guest share. Okay, so here I have my PowerShell scripts in this folder, which is called guest share. So now I have gone in this share, and then I will tell him ls list. Here I have this is the folder that contains my scripts. ls means dir or list the folders in this folder. Okay, the subfolders in this folder. Okay, so ls basically it is a command to list what is in the volume, or what is in a folder, or what is in a subfolder. Okay, what is in a folder and its subfolders. Okay, for example, there is a folder and subfolders, then he will list the folder and all the subfolders in it. So here we will go to where is the scripts. Here we can see that it's in the DC domain scripts. So here we will go to this location, and then here we can see that there are some scripts. These are this whole line. It is a script, and these 3 lines are a script, and this one line is another script, and this one line is another script, and this one line is another script. Every line of them does something, or implements something, or executes something. The first line will create our Active Directory organizational units. The second script will create our Active Directory security groups. The third line will create or will put our users in the Active Directory security groups that we have created previously, and the last 2 lines will create the computer objects and the robots. Okay, so now we will continue. As I said before, this all of the scripts that we will use to okay, so this is all of the scripts that we will use to create. These are 5 scripts, and there is another script that we will create the users. So there is a script to create the Active Directory user accounts, and this line will create the organizational units, and these 3 lines will create the Active Directory security groups, and this line will put the users of the Active Directory that you have created previously in the groups that you have created in the previous line. And the last 2 lines are for creating computer groups. Okay, so we will begin. The first thing is to create our organizational units in the Active Directory. So we need first this line, and to have a small note, every script in these 5 scripts will have an Excel sheet that he will go and get his data from. For example, computers.csv, there is a script that will go and see this Excel sheet that contains the computer names that we need to create. And for example, there is another Excel sheet called group members. This contains the Active Directory users and the groups that we need them to be a member of. Okay, and a lot of things. Okay, but this in general, every PowerShell script will have we need to go to a certain CSV file or Excel sheet to get its data from, or to get his instructions on what to create. Okay, so let's wait. So So here we will go to this location. We go to the PowerShell script, or sorry, to go to the PowerShell window and tell him to go to this location. Okay, first of all, this line says that he will go to the Excel sheet in this location that contains the organization unit. As I said before, every PowerShell script will go to a certain Excel sheet to get its data from, and this first line I am telling him to go to a certain location to get your organizational units. This is the name of the file that contains, or the Excel sheet that contains, the organizational unit. Okay, organization unit structure. Okay, so I am telling him import this Excel sheet, and this is the location of the Excel sheet which contains our organizational units. Okay, and the other line or the other commands will create the organization unit. So here I need to make sure that the location of this Excel sheet is written correctly, because if the PowerShell script goes to an incorrect or not the correct location, it will not it will give you an error and will not implement the script. So you need to tell him to go to the correct CSV file location, so he will be able to implement the script. So here, as we see, that our location will be the guest share domain whatsoever. This is the location of the Excel sheet that will contain the organizational units, and all of the scripts, we will have all of our scripts in the same location. Okay, here is the location of the groups. This is the Excel sheet that contains the groups. Okay, and this is also the Excel sheet that contains the group members, and this is the Excel sheet, but I am just changing the location. This is the Excel sheet that contains the computers. Okay, and this is the Excel sheet that contains the computers. So I am just changing the location. This is the Excel sheet that contains the organizational units. This is the Excel sheet that contains the Active Directory security groups, and this is the Excel sheet that contains the group members, the Active Directory users, and the groups that we need them to be a member of. And this is also the Excel sheet that will contain the computer objects and where we will put it, and these are these two lines for computers. Okay, so now we will begin implementing the script. First of all, first thing to do when we are working with the Active Directory or our newly Active Directory domain created, we need to create the organizational units, because without this all of our next scripts will not be implemented. For example, when we create our Active Directory user accounts, we need to put them in a certain organizational unit. So we need first to create the organization units, and for example, the security or Active Directory security groups also will put it on a certain organizational unit. So of course we need to create the organizational unit that will put the Active Directory security groups in, and the same thing applies for the computers, objects, and the group members. All of this we will not be able to implement our upcoming scripts unless we have the organizational units created first. Okay, so let's take it as a rule. The first thing to do when you are working with PowerShell scripts, first thing to create or to begin creating in the domain, it's the organizational units, and then the second step is to create the users using the PowerShell script, and then after creating the users we will begin using the PowerShell script to create the Active Directory security groups, and then after that we will use the PowerShell scripts to put, or we will use a PowerShell script to put the users and groups we have created previously in their respected group. So every user will be put in his respected security or Active Directory group using another PowerShell script. And last thing that we will create using the PowerShell scripts will be the computers objects and the server objects. Okay, the first thing to do is to implement. We will put copy and paste it will take a little bit of time. Here it will begin working. It will loading the Active Directory module or the Active Directory commands. So now it is finished. We will go and see. Here we will see our domain. We'll make a small refresh. make a refresh. Here we can see that we just a minute. Here we can see that just a minute, we can get a little bit back, and again we'll make a refresh. Here you can see that we have created our first organizational unit, and the sub-organizational units under it. Admins will contain our IT, okay, will be there. Robots is the computers will be contained, or the workstations will be here. Security groups will contain our Active Directory security groups. Here will be the servers. Terminals are also the computers, and the last one is for the Active Directory users will be here. Okay, so all of our organizational units are created successfully. So the next step is to create the users, okay, and put them in their respective organizational unit. For example, all of our users will be there, and after that we will see if our IT will be moved from the users organizational unit to the admins organizational unit. So let's bear with me. So now we have import Marvel. This is the folder, and this is the script that we will use. It's a PowerShell script also. We will right click and edit, and this is the Excel sheet that contains all of our DC Comics characters and villains. Okay, I have discussed this in a previous video. It will take a little bit of time. I think I can pass it quickly. So here we can see this is the script. It's written by Jonathan. Okay, you can see it here. It's not my script, and here we just need to change the location, okay, because the Excel sheet that contains the DC Comics characters are not in this location. So we need to change it to the location that contains these users. It is in DC whatsoever Marvel. We will see the right location, so we need to change the location of the script, not the location of the script, the location of the Excel sheet that this PowerShell script will go and see the data which contains our DC Comics characters. Okay. Because I am using this PowerShell script, okay, more often, or I use it in all of my labs, okay, so sometimes the location is not correct from one lab to another. Okay, so here this is the location of the DC users.csv. This is the file that contains, yes, that contains, we just need to get this. Okay, this is the location of the Excel sheet that contains the DC Comics users. Okay, so here we will save it, and then after that we will click on the play or the execute, so it will begin implementing the script. Okay, so just make sure in every PowerShell script that you are running it from the right location, and if you have an Excel sheet that this PowerShell will use, you need also to tell the PowerShell with the right location of this Excel sheet. Okay, so here I begin pausing, or not pausing, it's implementing the script. So here we can see that every user is created. It's given, for example, Aquaman has been added to the domain. There is some errors appearing saying that the user already exists, so we have created this user before. This is a very good sign of what user is created and what user is not created. We can see here that Ben 10, for example, is a user has been created. All of these users are real user real DC Comics names. Okay, as we see here, we will see Batman, a user for Batman, and a user for Superman. We will see that in a moment, but this script is very good. It tells you which user has been created and added to domain with this text or with this notification. Okay. We can see, for example, there is Crypto, and there is Max, and there is Abensor, and there is Batman, and there is Superman, and there is Plastic, okay, and there is Ray, and okay, Mysterio. I think this is Speedy Girl, Star Girl, Superman. We will see it in a moment. Supergirl, Superwoman. Okay, sorry, Wonder Woman. We will see that all. So now our script is implemented successfully. So now we will go to the second step, or the second line, that will create the Active Directory security groups, or the Active Directory groups that we will put our users in it. Okay, and this also will be done through a script. But first of all, we need to go and see if the Active Directory users are created. Okay, I have already passed this step. I will go now and go to the PowerShell script and create the Active Directory security groups. So now I have created successfully. We can see here that the users here we can see that here is the users: Abensur, Atom Girl, Batgirl, Batman, Batwoman, Beast Boy, Ben 10. We will see in a moment Superman also. And if we go to the security groups, we will see the groups of this, the groups that we will put all of these users in it, each user to his respective group. Here you can see, okay, Abensor, Alfred, the assistant of Batman. Okay. Here we can see that these are the groups that I have shown you all in my introduction. Here is a group for Alien, a group for Atlantean. Here we will put Aquaman in this group. We'll put Superman in Kryptonian, because Superman is a Kryptonian citizen. Okay, and we have a lot of groups. Okay, we have a group for all users. Here we'll put all of the DC Comics users. Okay, and a lot of things I have discussed in my introduction. This is groups for internet. If you need to control the internet and to have certain levels of access, you can control them through using Active Directory groups. But anyway, we have succeeded in implementing the users and the groups. So the third line we will use to put our created Active Directory users in their respective Active Directory security groups. Okay, so we'll see that now in a moment. This is also done through a text file or Excel sheet that contains all of the data that we need. Okay, there is an error, but ignore it. We will see that if we open every Active Directory security group, I think I will go. Okay, I will go now. I will now take the second or the upcoming or the next PowerShell script to create the computers. Okay, or the computer objects. Okay, and then enter. And then the robots, as we said before, robots, in other words, they are computers. So robots and computers are the same. Okay. So here, as we see here, that using PowerShell scripts will save you a lot of time, and Batman needs that time because Superman put him under stress that he needs to finish this Active Directory construction really fast, and also deploy computers really fast. And we will see how we can deploy it in a very fast way. Okay, and it is an automated process. You will not intervene in it. Okay. Okay, here now we will see how the computers will be created. Okay, and the group members. So here, for example, if you go to terminals, here we can see that the computers are created. and the servers are created, and the robots are created. All of this are done. So our computer objects has been created. Okay, so all of this are created. We need to go to one of the security groups and see if there is any Active Directory users in it. Here, for example, we can see that I have in the IT, we have Batman and Superman and Abensor, and then I will make a user for myself and I will add it to this group. Okay. Here I will put my user and create my username and put it in the admins. I will name myself Karim Raouf, and then I'll make a username for myself, and then I will put my username in the DCIT group, which is DC is abbreviation of DC Comics, and IT is an abbreviation for Information Technology. As the best practice, you need to make your password, as Microsoft says, to be more than 7 characters containing uppercase and lowercase and special characters and numbers, of course. Okay, so here now I will do another thing. I will go to the security groups. We will check if our PowerShell script has been working. Okay, first of all, I will add my user to the IT group, which my user is Kera01. This is my username. So now I am added to the IT group. And then we'll do something very important. Okay, let's discuss it more further. I need just to see the okay, no, not here. We will not add it from here. Okay, just a minute. Here we can see that this built-in folder, this folder contains built-in Active Directory security groups. These are built-in security groups, or they are created when you install the Active Directory domain services. You don't create them manually. So okay, so the first thing to do is to make sure, okay, that your DCIT, now we have our DCIT, this is the group that contains all of the IT personnel. So we need to make sure that this group has full domain rights or full privileges on the whole domain, so they can do anything to the domain: create users, delete users, create computers, delete computers. So the most powerful Active Directory built-in group that gives you all of the rights that you need on all of the domain, it is the administrators group in the built-in Active Directory group. As I said before, this is created by default. Okay, so we can see here that the administrators group contains the domain admins group and the enterprise admin groups. So we will put our DCIT in this group, and I will put also the DCIT group in the domain admin groups and the enterprise admin groups and the schema admin groups. Okay, you don't need to do this, because if you only put them in the administrators group, so then you will have full rights to everything. But I am just, if you will not put them in the administrators group, so you need to put your DCIT group in the domain admins and enterprise admins and schema admins. Okay, so you can have full domain rights or full privileges on the whole domain. You can do anything you like on the domain. So this is a very critical step, because you will not use the administrator account. As I said before, it's the best practice not to use the administrator account in any Windows operating system. You need to change the name of this user to be another name, and to put a strong password, and to disable it, and to create another user that have the privileges of this administrator user. Okay, so what we have do, that we have created a user Kera01 and Superman and Batman. All of them will have the same rights of the administrator, because they are in the group of administrators. That gives, as soon as I put myself in this group, I will have the same rights as the administrator. So when I put my DCIT group, then I will disable this user and rename it, and then I can use my username to do anything I need in the domain. I don't need the administrator user anymore. So we'll complete our lab. Here we will add my group, which will be DC_IT. Check name. Okay, we will add it. So now I have full rights because I am in the DC_IT group, which is a member of the administrator's Active Directory group. So here, as I said before, we'll go to domain admins. You don't need to do this step, but if you don't put your DC_IT or your group Active Directory IT group in this administrators groups, so you need then to put them in the following groups. It's the domain admins and the enterprise admins. You add the IT group in the domain admins group. The DC_IT group will be a member of the domain admins, and the DC_IT group will be a member of the enterprise admins, and also will be a member of the schema admins. So by putting yourself in this Active Directory built-in groups, so you will have a full control over your domain or your Active Directory domain. So now we have everything completed. We have created the users, the groups, the organizational units, the computers. All of things are done in, if you can just calculate it, maybe it's done in 2 hours, maybe, or maybe less. It's only maybe less than 1 hour, but the trick here is to configure all, or to prepare all of these Excel sheets that the PowerShell scripts will use to create the objects, computer objects, user objects, security groups. Okay, here we see we are going to the sysvol folder. What we have done now, just a minute. Here we have selected all of our users, okay, and then we will get to their Active Directory properties. Take a note, because in their Active Directory properties, I will put the name of my login script. As I said before, every user in this Active Directory should have a script implemented on him for the first time he logs into domain. For example, if Adam, for example, this user logs into the domain for the first time with his user on any workstation, I need the script that is called mycomputer.bat to be implemented on him. As I said before, we need to get the properties of this user, and then in the login script field we will put mycomputer.bat. So this is the process that you are doing now. Here I am going to the location of the scripts. As we see here is our bat file or script file that will be implemented on the Active Directory users. Okay, here I am taking the name, just take a note. Then I will right click. I have selected all of the users, then click properties, and then to the profile, and then the login script. We will check this. What I am doing, that when I put the name of the script here, it will put this name of the script in all of the users Active Directory properties. For example, here I am selecting the 215 users, and by this process I am checking all of their Active Directory properties. So by one click I just selected them all, and then check this box and put mycomputer.bat and apply and OK. After that, all of these users Active Directory security Active Directory properties, you will see this field written. We will see that now in a moment. Computer.bat, and then apply. Okay, and then OK. So by doing this step, we have filled this field, okay, login script field, in all of our Active Directory users properties. Okay, we will see that now in a moment. So here, for example, if you click any user now, any user of them, here for example I will check anonymous one, for example Batman. First of all, here I am taking Batman and Superman and Abensor and my name, and I will move them to the admin's organizational unit. Okay, so because I am not a normal user, I will just move them to the admins, and this is not only because I am an admin, because I don't need some group policies to be implemented on me. I need to have special group policies for me implemented on my organizational unit or implemented on my IT group that is different than the group policies that will be implemented on the normal users. Okay, so this is also best practice because you need to have more options and other things than the normal users. So you can make an organizational unit and put all of your users in it. Okay, the admins, I mean the IT admin in it. So here I am using, or I am moving all of my personnel. It's Batman and Superman and Abensur and me. We are the admins of this DC Comics domain. So Batman and Superman are the admins. Here we can see that in the profile. This is here a step because I didn't use it. Okay, let's if for example we check Superman or Batman or Abensur, we can see that the login script field will be filled. Okay, I think it is we have finished. Okay, let's wait for a moment. So now I have created all of our Active Directory structure. I think now we will begin to see if we can log in with my Active Directory. Here for example I am logged into the domain with the administrator user. First of all, okay, now we will go, remember in our first of the lab we were saying that we need to implement the mycomputer.bat to all of the users. So we can see this this graph. Let's go to the graph process. Here we can see that, as I said before, we have done this step. We have already put the login script. We put my computer in the login script field. Okay, and it's already done, or it's put in the scripts folder and the rights are there. Okay, we need in the background folder, we need to because the script will run the following files from this folder. So this folder, the users of the Active Directory should have access on it. So we need to share it and give the users of Active Directory the suitable rights so they can be able to execute the files, because the user should have rights on both scripts folder and backgrounds folder, so the script can be run successfully. Okay, at least you need to have on these two folders, the scripts folder and the background folder, to have read and execute. So now we can see here, let's go for a moment. Here we will share this folder, properties, and then we will go to the sharing, and then we will tell him advanced sharing and then share this folder and permissions, and then remove. Here we will add, I have a group in the Active Directory, we name it DC underscore all users. This Active Directory group will contain all of our DC Comics members, including me and the IT personnel. Okay, we will see that in a moment. We can, for example, not use this one. We can use another group which is called domain users. This group is a built-in Active Directory group. It's not created, you don't create it manually. This group contains all of your domain Active Directory domain users in it. I have in sequence, or actually I have created another group that will do the same function. I have already something called DC underscore all users that will do the same function as this group. Also, I will put all of my Active Directory domain users in DC underscore all users, or if you don't have this group created, you can put, or you can use this group as an alternative, because I need all of my domain users to have access to, or to share. I need to share this folder to my domain user accounts and to have certain rights to this folder so they can be able to execute the login script. Okay, so here we will give them as I said before, DC underscore all users. Okay, this is, as I said before, the group that I have, and I will add the DC IT group to have full control on this folder. You need to do this in all of the folders that you have, just a precaution. So here we will tell him full control, and then domain users will give it a change only. Okay, and DC users will give it a change. Okay, change means here that you can read and execute. Okay, read and change, you mean by read, you can read, and then you can, I think, you can change the name or something, but anyway you give them read and change, so they can be able to execute this. I think you can give them read only, but you can try to give them read only. If this works, okay, that's fine. So if there is any problem, you can add change, so you can have change and read. First of all, give them the read only, okay, that DC all users and domain users, give them the read option if everything works smoothly with you. So okay, you don't need anything. But if there is any errors or the login script is not implemented, so you can add the change right. Okay, we have two types of permissions or type of privileges: the sharing permissions and the security permissions or NTFS permissions. So take note that you need to have two, or the two permissions should be identical. For example, here we give DC all users a change permission and domain users also the change permission. So here in the security or the NTFS permission, they will give them modify. Modify, it's the equivalent of change in the share permissions. Okay, here we'll add DC underscore all users. So by this step we are ensuring that when a user accesses the domain, he will be able to implement the mycomputer.bat script. Okay, and I will give here, we can see that in here the equivalent permissions in the NTFS for change and full control. For the computer, for the this IT, full control is there. As for change in the sharing permissions, we have I think we'll not give modify, we'll leave them for read and execute only. Okay, so this is better. I need the only users to read and execute. We don't need to change. Okay, and as a best practice, let me hold something for you. If you have two permissions, okay, and we have sharing permission and we have NTFS permissions, the more restrictive permissions will win. For example, if you have a share permission, for example, on the backgrounds folder to read, okay, or sorry, to full control, and then in the NTFS permission you have only read permission, so the read will be the final privileges that will work. Okay, so now what we will do, we will now try to see, and I will access. Now I'll try to log off from the administrator account on this machine and try to access with my user or Active Directory user account and see if the script will be implemented on me. Okay, I think what I am doing here, let me hold for a minute. Okay, I think networking and sharing. I think let's pause it real quickly. What I'm doing here I am just, I think maybe I'm checking the IP address. Okay, after you promote this server to be a domain controller, you need to change some setting in the IP address, IP setting or the IP setting for this domain. We will see what I mean by this. We will go to the properties. Here we need to change this preferred DNS from 127.00.1. Actually this IP means that it is 10.0.1.20. okay, so this number or this IP address is equivalent or is exactly the same as 10.0.1.20, but I will make it 10.0.1.20 because I will create another domain controller, so I need to have a consistency. Okay, so I just put them I put the name because this server is a domain controller, and the same it's a DNS in the same time. Okay, because 127.0.0.1 this IP is called loopback IP, and this is equivalent. Here we can see also that I am going to the wins setting. This server is acting as a DNS and as wins, so we need to enable this option and to add the IP address of the server, which is 10.0.1.20, to be as wins, okay, because we have already installed this feature on this server. Okay, so to know what the wins do, we can let me have a look, because actually I need to know what is we can, because actually I am a little bit confused of what wins is. Okay, Windows Internet, let's see here, Windows Internet Name Service. Okay, implementation of NetBIOS name, a name server and the service name for NetBIOS computer names. Efficiently wins names is to NetBIOS names what DNS is to domain names. A central mapping of host names to network address. Like DNS, it is implemented in two parts: a server service whatsoever and a TCP component which manages the client registers and renew names and takes care of queries. This is a procedure to DNS and has been deprecated. Okay, as I said before, this was WINS was working, or it was implemented before the DNS was working. So I think this is an older version of the DNS. It does the same as the DNS do. You give it the name of the PC and its equivalent IP address, or the name of the PC and the IP address attached to it. But actually it's not the name, it's the NetBIOS name, because you have to differentiate between a NetBIOS name and a full domain name. A full domain name, it's your full name. For example, my name is Karim Raouf Abdikarim Mohammed Ginei. This is my full name, but my NetBIOS name will be Kuku, for example. This is my short name. So for the DNS, you will have the full domain name. For example, Karim Raouf Abdikarim Mohammed Ginedi, his IP address is 192.168.1.1 whatsoever. This is the DNS. As for the WINS, Kuku will be 192 but whatsoever. So my short name will be attached to an IP address, but as for my full name, it will be attached to IP address. This is the differences, and as I said before, it is a processor or predecessor to the DNS. So it was before creating the DNS, and it is depreciated, or it is not working anymore with Microsoft. So we cannot use it, or you don't need to use it. But if you are using XP or older versions of Windows, so you need to have WINS, okay, working, because it was working with older versions of Windows, like example XP and whatsoever. So now we will continue. Here we will add our WINS. So this is why I am installing the WINS feature in my labs, because maybe you have, I think no one is anymore is working with XP or Windows 7 even, but it's a precaution, okay, because the time I have done this video, XP was still using, maybe XP it was still used, but I think also no, it was depreciated a long time ago. So now here we will go for, I'm doing a little bit of thumbsing here. We can see that in the DC all users group, I didn't put any, or didn't put all of my domain Active Directory accounts in it. Why I didn't do this? I didn't do this with the PowerShell script, because it's a little bit, I want to do it manually. Okay, so I will go to the DC all users and then add all of my Active Directory user accounts in it. Okay, so here I'm telling him to only have the users, okay, and then I will choose my Active Directory user accounts. I will add them all except of for example the administrator. This is the built-in account, so I will add them all, and then after that we will begin to see if we log in with one of these Active Directory user accounts. We will see if my computer.bat will be implemented. Okay, so I think we need to check them all. Okay, I am adding them. Okay, so I am adding them again, I think. Yes, okay, and then we'll add the rest of them. So from a technical point, now we have we have created our Active Directory domain, which is dm.local. This is our DC Comics domain. We have created the users, we have created the groups, we have created the group members, we have created the computer groups, we have created, the computer objects, the server objects, the membership of users, okay, Active Directory user membership. We have created our my IT Active Directory account. We have put our DC IT group to be a member of all of the Active Directory built-in groups that give you the most privileges you need to control the Active Directory domain structure. So now we have all of this done. So I think in the upcoming video we'll begin creating a new virtual machine and to create the second domain controller, okay? And the second domain controller will be our file server, and a lot of things will be done. Or I think no, still we will create a second domain controller, but I think this upcoming video we will create the group policy, okay? So now we have already created the users and groups and objects, but we need to have a group policy implemented, okay? So we need to be prepared to create our first group policies and see how this will be done. I think this is the upcoming video, but for now I think the video is finished. Let's wait for a moment. Now we'll make a restart. The next video we will see how the mycomputer.bat script will be implemented, and then we will begin continuing with our scenario to create the group policy, and then after that we will create our second domain controller. I think the video now is finished. So hope this video was informative for you all, and I would like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much. I think I will have a couple of seconds remaining. So now it is finished, I think. Thank you so much. So until I see you all next video. Thank you.